begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It's Chris, aka Starrapter. This is Outer Rim Transmission number 103, take number 2. We've been having some technical difficulties. You would think after 3 weeks of being away it would iron itself out, but apparently it's still there. Darn computer updates or whatever the heck could have screwed it up. Yeah, I'm joined by Ben. This week we're going to be talking all about Star Wars Celebration. That's where I was for the last 3 weeks over there in Europe, having a lot of fun and getting blitzed by so many Star Wars announcements that I literally had a headache after day one because I was yelling so loud, just had this grin on my face the whole time. So the best way you can ever say you can get a headache is from Star Wars overload.
Oh yeah, trust me. Like I was exhausted too, and I wasn't even there because, for us over here in the U.S., you had to wake up before 6. Like it started at about 6 our time, so I had my alarm set for like 5:40 that day. So I got up. I was like, man, I cannot believe I'm waking up at 5:40 to refresh Twitter for Star Wars announcements. And I was like, should I really do this? And I was like, well, let me just turn on all my lights to like make myself wake up, I did that, turned all my lights on, and was like, whoa, I'm tired. But as soon as I started seeing Star Wars news, I was like locked in. I was like, okay, here we go. And like I was texting people about it. So like and messaging you guys in the chat, in the group chat. So yeah, I got locked in, but it took me like a half hour because I was like, whoa, I'm really tired actually. So it was a good time though. It was fun, even back here, just refreshing, just waiting for the next bit of news.
Oh yeah. I mean, we'll start off. We'll start off with our highlights. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter, different kind of show. Milton's not going to be able to join us tonight. We're recording very late, by the way. I've been kind of on the verge of on German time still, so I've been like 6 hours ahead. So for me, it feels like it's 3 a.m. still. So that gives you an idea of what my energy level is and why we're only going to probably do this for about 30 minutes today or something like that. So I think the best way to tackle this is just let's maybe pick, maybe 3 highlights of things from the entire convention, announcements or otherwise that we've enjoyed. I mean, I assume for you it'd be announcements because you weren't there, but maybe next time in Japan we'll get you there.
Hey, there we go. Yeah, it was definitely a really good time, like getting all the different announcements and everything. Yeah, for me though, to kick this off, I would say for me, my number one by far big earth-shattering moment of the entire convention. We'll get into like the movie side of things, but I think even though we already knew basically he was gonna be the character, I just think seeing Lars Mikkelsen as Grand Admiral Thrawn in the trailer. Of course, we didn't see his face, but in the trailer anyways. But the fact that Lars was there and was talking about it and was so excited, like it's cool because he's not really on social media, so it was great seeing like he was like tearing up on stage and stuff, like how like on the live stage when he did his interview, it was him and Ray Stevenson. He was getting kind of choked up because like he couldn't believe how like appreciated, like how excited like the fan reaction was, because from his point of view, of course, like he said, he did the character in Rebels and he heard about the character's history, but probably from his point of view it was going to be like a Tarkin type, like fans probably not getting hyped because it's not Darth Vader or something. But like actually like seeing his reaction, like the fans were so excited. Like when he walked out on stage, like they were just like going crazy, and he like you could just actually see like the genuine surprise on his face, like whoa, like they actually are like really excited about my character. So it was really cool hearing Lars talk about that. Interesting thing, he mentioned because a lot of people talked about this, but it was like wondering what his eyes would look like, and he said he wore like straight the red contacts, and then he has they just CGI'd the whites in his eyes red, so his eyes should look really really good. But yeah, I think that was like my number one thing of Celebration, was seeing the Ahsoka trailer, and then of course seeing Lars as Thrawn, because like that's everything we've imagined. We've always like been like, how would they ever do Thrawn in live action, especially after Mando season 2, when they like fully confirmed like he was going to be in live action, basically when Ahsoka said, "Where's Thrawn?" And now we're getting him. It's going to be incredible in my opinion.
Yeah, the funny thing was they announced Thrawn for Star Wars Rebels back in 2016, the last time they had it at the Excel Center in London. So it's like it comes around full circle. Like they always make these big Thrawn announcements in that building.
Yeah. Oh, they do too. And then the fact that to go along with the Thrawn announcement, it was tied in with the Ahsoka stuff. It was so great seeing Dave Filoni, like he was literally getting choked up
Oh,
big time,
yeah.
he was getting major choked up, like
I
about
was
crying on stage.
getting
And
freaking choked up watching him getting choked up.
it was so cool. Like
Yeah.
I loved hearing him say, like, if even if I wasn't here working
Yeah.
for Star Wars, I'd be out there in the audience
I
with you guys.
know.
That's how big of a fan he is.
I
Like that is
know.
and that's genuine from him because he's that big of a fan. Like I loved it.
Dude, yeah, as somebody that was like there, like it was so cool to like see the appreciation from the creators and the actors and everybody that's part of Star Wars. Like they genuinely just showed so much, grateful thanks to all of us that showed up there. And I'll tell you what, that was the most packed convention I've ever been in. And I've been to quite a few, whether it be New York Comic Con every year or Star Wars Celebration since 2019. I've been to every one. And this one, man, they must have oversold the tickets for that place because the first day Friday, I couldn't walk around. Like usually I could like walk around and I'll go to a booth and I'll like check out the action figures or whatever. I'd even try to get near there. And then and getting around the live stage, I mean, you see it on the cameras. It was like insane getting anywhere near the live stage. It was just a sea of people. A sea of people.
Oh yeah, that was cool seeing how many people that were there and like getting so excited about things. And like, one more little note on the Ahsoka panel, on the Ahsoka stuff too. That was really good. I got a good laugh out of Ray Stevenson when he was getting interviewed.
Yeah.
Because he was like, yeah, he had worked in Star Wars before. I think he played Gar Saxon.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yep. Yeah, he played Gar. And the funny thing is, he laughed and was like, yeah, when I got a call from the people at Lucasfilm, like asking me if I wanted to be in this show, he said, "Let me guess. Of course, since I'm an old British sounding guy, you're gonna make me be a villain." And it's like, yeah, that's pretty much what a lot of old British people are in Star Wars. So that was pretty funny hearing him say that.
But yeah, I mean, since we're already on topic, we could talk a little bit about the Ahsoka panel more. And I mean, I even got a little bit emotional seeing Mary Elizabeth Winstead coming on stage as Heron, showing her picture, and I was like, holy crap, like this is an animated character come to life again, and they keep doing it and they keep looking amazing. So that got to me because it's like, holy crap, like this is amazing to see this, and again being in the room where this was announced and feeling the energy of the room and the buzz of everybody else that was in there being like, oh my God, like it was so cool. It was literally like a rock concert. But yeah, I mean, I was happy that they officially released the trailer. I thought the trailer was great because it basically gave like Star Wars Rebels Season 5 vibes, between Chopper and the Phantom and a little Ezra hologram. Great saber action. Oh my gosh.
World Between Worlds in the background.
Really?
Or it looks like it. Yeah, like when you see Ray Stevenson's character, it looks like what's his name? Shin. When you see him in the background, if you look in the background when he like has his lightsaber out or whatever, it looks like the World Between Worlds, like the way it looks, like the vibe. So I think it for sure is that. And like you said, you got like it's Rebels Season 5 essentially. I mean, that's how I'm viewing it anyways in my head canon. Like it just feels like it's going to be Rebels Season 5 basically. So like I think that's a great part of it. And then it was funny, I got a good laugh out of Rosario because she was like, "Oh, I can finally relax and like actually talk about this show now, like with all the news of who's in the show now, who's in the show actually, like because she's been like one of the biggest leakers of this show, like just dropping the actors that have been in it, like Lars, for example. Like she literally posted a year and a half ago how excited she was working with Lars, and then now she was like celebrating that she can actually talk about the show. So it was cool just like seeing her reaction. Yeah, I think that was the biggest highlight though for me for sure was the Ahsoka stuff.
Yeah, it
At
was.
least on the TV side of things.
Now, you said TV, nice segue, because I'm going to talk about movies. And the fact
Yep.
that I called this one, I called this one, I called this one, and I even said this like right before we got in the room. I said they're going to bring Daisy Ridley on stage, and damn if I wasn't right. But that I mean, I want to just talk about the fact that Lucasfilm went out and announced not one, not two, but three movies and had all the directors there to talk about those little projects was a huge thing because it's not like they announced a trilogy. They announced three kind of standalone movies in completely different eras. And when they kind of, the way they did it was pretty neat because they showed, this was at the end, they showed the different eras, the Fall of the Jedi, the New Republic, the Dawn of the Republic, whatever, all those different, and it started out like they first showed it, and it had the Old Republic on there, and I was like, holy crap, like literally the Old Republic. Finally, they acknowledged the Old Republic before the High Republic. And then they brought on James Mangold, and then they expanded that to Dawn of the Jedi, and I about lost it. And then they brought in the director for the New Jedi Order, and then expanded that out to the New Jedi Order after whatever the fall, the First Order, the Rise of the First Order, whatever that era is called. So just the boldness of Lucasfilm to finally do what I've been wanting them to do for the longest time is to do movies in other eras. And even James Mangold said like his movie is basically like 25,000 years in the past about the very first Jedi. Like this is the stuff we've been daydreaming about for years.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for years. I mean, his movie, it's so exciting. Like you said, that movie is going to be really cool just because he can literally do pretty much whatever he wants because it's 25,000 years ago, so he doesn't have to worry about anything. And then Charmin Obaid Chinoy, I believe is her name, the Rey movie director for the New Jedi Order. That movie is going to be exciting because I think they should be able to get things like on track with like where they left off in Rise and everything, and the fact that it takes place 15 years after Rise, like if you listen to the quotes, like the way they talked, like Rey is like establishing like the Jedi, like she's gonna have, there's gonna be some established Jedi once we get into this movie. Like it doesn't sound like she's starting it from like we're getting ground zero. Like it sounds like we're gonna be having a couple Jedi like around potentially.
Oh,
So like because if you listen to like the way Kathy talked about it, like she was in an interview with one of the websites. I saw her. It was like a separate video, but she they're basically they're kind of alluding to like it sounds like she might have it started up a little bit versus from ground zero. So there's that. Like that movie is going to be really really cool, and that's going to be the first movie, at least we're thinking anyways, coming up here in a couple years. So you have that one, and then the Dave Filoni movie, like that was huge for me. I mean, that's pretty much Heir to the Empire. Like, what was people's reactions in at Celebration for that, Chris? Or like, what was your reaction when you heard like Dave's getting a movie wrapping the Mandoverse?
Like I said, I said to you, I think I lost my voice by the end of this hour and a half. It was intense. Like I just kept yelling and yelling and yelling. And that was the thing. It's like, yes, Dave finally gets his due. He directed Ahsoka, all those episodes. What else could you do to prove yourself? You directed a whole live action series. What's next? Oh, just do the feature film at this point. Just do it. So, oh man, yeah, that's cool. Like, I'm happy that they're sticking to their guns. And they announced this back in 2020. This big climactic finale is going to be in the theaters, and it's great to hear that that is still on track. Because we've had a bit of mix-up between Rangers of the New Republic and I don't even know. So, like, nothing's set in stone, obviously, at Lucasfilm, but it's good to see things like this are still being made.
Yeah, I think the good thing is, say what you want about, like, the New Jedi Order movie. I think that's for sure happening because Daisy Ridley, you can't like walk that back. And then I think for sure the Dave Filoni movie is happening because he literally works there. Like I don't think they can go to him and say, hey, we're backing out. And then the James Mangold movie, the reason I think that's going to happen too, I think they're going to go 3 for 3 on these movies because if you think about it, it also, for all of our Indiana Jones fans listening and watching, that gives me a lot of confidence in the Indy 5 movie because they saw what James Mangold did for Indy 5. So it makes you wonder, like, how good that movie is since they
Oh,
already
I've
greenlit
already
the movie.
seen some of the movie.
Yeah, I was going to say, they showed you guys,
They
what,
showed us
10
like
minutes or something?
10 minutes and it was
Yeah.
amazing. Like
Yep.
it was a scene in Morocco. I'll do a little like diversion. It was a scene in Morocco and it's like in the 60s and what's the actress's name that played Ellie L337 in Solo? She's like the new sidekick. She's
Yeah.
like his goddaughter.
Yep.
Um and so it was also it's like it captures the same energy that you had in those first three movies. Like what James
Yep.
Mangold did, it's not even directed. Yeah, it's not directed by Steven Spielberg, but he got that kind of imagery down, and like the kind of slapstick antics with the
Yep.
danger, and they're riding by these. There's these neo Nazis in this car, and they're trying to track them down, and they're like jumping in between cars and like these three-wheel toy, and there's just amazing music that's led by John Williams in the background, and it just looked so good. I'm like, yeah, sign me up. I'm watching this day one. Um,
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited for it. And good news for anyone that's followed along with our saga of me losing our local theater here over the past few years. Well, our new one is opening up and it's going to be like Dolby Atmos surround and like
what?
everything. Yeah, like it's going to be 5 minutes from here. So like I am so hyped about that.
Damn, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So
Yep.
the movies were the movie announcements were fantastic, fantastic. What other announcements were you really jazzed to hear about? Doesn't have to be
So
this first panel. Anything over the whole weekend.
So yeah, I mean, I would say, like I said, the Ahsoka panel was huge. The movies were huge, in my opinion. And I would say just overall, like I think when it comes to me, it was just great. It was great just like seeing, like I said, the actors and the creatives talking about these projects and like how passionate they are talking about the projects. You know, so like the Acolyte, for example, like the Acolyte was really was a really cool panel just because like the trailer leaked out there online, like I'm sure people can find it, but the trailer looks great. And then you have the whole it's like the creatives behind it, as we were talking about earlier before we had technical difficulties. Um, like Leslie Headland, like the way she talked about the series, like she's so passionate about Star Wars, like she has a great history with the franchise. Like it's not any of this like generic canned celebrity talk about Star Wars. Like she seems genuine. Like she liked the old EU. She checked out the High Republic current in the current canon, and like you have these type of things, and then she like, talks about like George Lucas's Star Wars, like, it just feels like she's being like real genuine about like Star Wars. So I was really happy like hearing the way she talked about the Acolyte. That was very, very impressive. Like to me, it gets me excited for that show. And the fact, the way I'm really interested because the big dilemma when it comes to TV shows or movies is they always say you can't like make a movie or show from the angle of the bad guy. Like people always say, oh, you can't get a Darth Vader movie to work because you can't go from the bad guy's point of view. But the way she talked about like the Acolyte, they're gonna try to like attempt to make like the Jedi's look almost like villains from this. Since we're gonna be on the Sith side of things, they're gonna be making like the Jedi look more like bad guys, for example, for the audience. So I'm actually excited for that because it'll be like putting a perspective on the Sith side of things as to why they're Sith.
Oh yeah, and I'm happy you brought this up because that's actually my other highlight from Celebration was the High Republic panel the following day on Saturday, and I'll be honest, I was hoping that we would get some connection between what we're reading and what's going to happen on the screen in a year or so, and so the panel was already amazing. The panel was great because they were just giving us all the information. They did a quick recap of what's happened, and then they started going into phase 3, which is the final phase, which is the Trials of the Jedi, and it takes place a year after the events of phase 1. The Nile have effectively won. They have taken over the Outer Rim territories, and all the Jedi have receded back to the core, to Coruscant to kind of come up with a plan. But effectively, the Nile have now won, which is insane. And so they were talking about, the books that are coming out of the authors, the luminous authors were all there. They were talking about, okay, this is my book for phase 3. This is my book. Here's some hints of what's going to happen. And then that's when they said, okay, we're going to turn off the live stream now. Everybody at home, we had fun, but it's time for you guys to go. And then when they say that, it's like, oh, shoot, what are they going to show us? What are they going to show us now? Because they were live streaming that panel. And then, next thing you know, Leslie Headland walks on stage. And she was announced as like the 10th Luminous author, which is pretty freaking cool. So to see her on that stage, acknowledging all of us that have poured the time and the passion into these stories we've been reading since 2021 or whenever it was the phase 1 came out, was really gratifying. She was talking, as you said, about her respect for the written material, the respect for a time after these special editions between them and the Phantom Menace. There wasn't anything but the books and the video games. She didn't say video games, but the expanded universe in general. And she was saying how important that was for her, how Star Wars saved her life and all this. It was a really awesome moment. And then that wasn't all, because then she said, I have my wife playing Vernestra Rowe, who is a character that was introduced in Wave 1, Phase 1 of the High Republic. The Miri Allen Jedi, she was a Jedi prodigy at 15. She was knighted at the age of 15. She has a violet lightsaber that turns into like a whip. She's a really awesome character. So I just about lost my mind along with everybody in that place, because it was pretty funny. There we were sitting, me and Dominic from the Star Wars Underworld and my girlfriend were all sitting next to each other, and right behind us was an entire row of like hardcore High Republic cosplayers.
I bet they went crazy.
Some of them were cosplaying the character.
Oh dang, that's
cool.
I
literally I heard those people weeping. They were crying tears of joy. I heard sniffling and everything. It was like, even I started like, holy crap, this is a powerful moment. When Lucasfilm totally goes all in, thanks to Leslie Headland, goes all in on the publishing to make it that same level of the quality and the storytelling that we get from the other mediums of Star Wars. So that for me specifically, as you guys know the channel, I grew up the channel based on book reviews and everything else. It's like, damn, this is one hell of a moment to be a part of. And I was in the room, I was like, this was the best like book panel ever.
Yeah, that was really, really awesome seeing that. Like when she said they were bringing in that character into live action, I was like, dang, I bet like all the High Republic fans are so excited, because it's great. It's it's like we said with clear back to even Chopper in Rogue One, like just getting that validation of like them including like the animated show into live action, and then now the books into live action. Like it's cool, like actually getting that validation, because then it actually puts a value on those materials for audiences versus like, oh, are we just reading this stuff and not ever going to get a live action or an animated payoff? And now they're actually bringing in one of the characters from the High Republic. Like that's really, really cool in my opinion. I can't hear you.
Okay, so this is going to be a fun one. My highlight is not an announcement, but it's a moment that happened at Star Wars Celebration 2023. And I was at a panel on Sunday for Star Wars publishing, books and whatnot. I was in my Cal Kestis costume, and they have like a warm-up thing before the show happens. Before the panel happens, they have like a hype guy up there, and he's like always playing games with people to get just the room to be entertained until the show actually starts. And he called up everybody with a lightsaber. He's like, everybody with a lightsaber, come on to the front of the room. And I had my lightsaber, and the guy I had met literally like in line, who recognized me as Starrapter. This guy was like, hey, are you Starrapter? So this guy from, I forget his name, but he's from Canada. And he looked at me. He's like, "Dude, you got to go up there. You have your lightsaber." And so he kind of twisted my arm, and I was like, "Ah, I'll go." So here I am with like my full Cal Kestis cosplay, and there's a couple of other Jedi up there. There's probably like 8 of us, and we are on the Twin Sun stage, which is the smallest out of the 3 stages, which is Twin Suns Galaxy stage. Celebration stage is like the room that had like 4,000 people, the biggest room there. So this room probably had close to 500, maybe 1,000 people, somewhere in that realm. But yeah, here I was before the publishing panel showing my best lightsaber choreography, which I felt really inferior because some of those guys that were up there with like their Jedi robes must have been legit from the Saber Guild because they were doing like cartwheels with one hand, like flipping up, catching the lightsaber in midair and spinning around. And I'm sitting there like just trying my best for like BD1, who's like on my shoulder, to like not fall off as I was kind of spinning around. And it was like, I gave it a valiant effort and I was like, yeah, I know I'm not going to win this, but I'm going to have fun with it. The guy was all playing on the mic. He's like, yeah, Cal Kestis, and everybody was loving it. And then the next thing was, okay, now we have to fight each other. So we each turned to the closest person that had the lightsaber. We were literally dueling in front of all these people. Like multiple Jedi were just like dueling each other in front of this room of everybody. And it was like, I ended up getting like a nice exclusive sticker out of the deal, but it was one of those moments that was so funny. And then the panel itself like absolutely disappointed me because the panel itself was like, hey, let's not talk about 2 of the books that are coming out soon. Let's talk about the Star Wars Timelines book, which is now out. Let's talk about this Chewbacca or this Buryaga and Yoda story with kids. Let's talk about Return of the Jedi from a certain point of view for 20 minutes. It's like, we didn't get any meat or anything out of that panel.
Yeah.
And it kind of happened the same thing last year. And the part that irks me when it comes to these things is when whoever's moderating a panel or whoever, in this case it was Michael Siglain, and I met the guy actually later on that night. Pretty cool guy, nice guy. But I just don't like the decisions that people make when they say, you pay all this money, right? You pay. I paid several thousands of dollars to go to Europe for that weekend, and I loved it. It was a time of my life. But you don't have people spend thousands of dollars and then tell them, "Oh, we have stuff to show you, but we're going to wait to show to the people going to the next convention in California." It's like, hold on a minute. I'm not going to California. Spill the beans right now, or at least don't even mention that you have anything to spill, because now it's like, I feel left out, because it's like you have stuff that you could have said, oh, but we're not going to show it until San Diego Comic-Con. It's like, no one in this room is going to San Diego Comic-Con, so why'd you make a comment about that? Because we're all here spending thousands of dollars to be here right now to learn about the stuff right now. Oh, we'll learn about more at San Diego and we'll learn more at New York Comic-Con. I'm like, well, thanks. Like, that was useless, but thanks.
Yeah, it's just like holding the cookie out in front of you, like, okay, go to the next thing.
And they do that every time with these publishing panels. They're always like, oh, we have so much more, but we can't talk about it. It's like, just talk about it. You're at a Star Wars convention. Who cares?
Yeah, like the news would be out there eventually, and it would just be more like good PR for the book side of things, in my opinion, anyways.
Yeah, there's nothing exciting about that panel, and in retrospect, I should have. At that point, I had split up from my girlfriend, and she went off to do some other panel. I was like, I should have just went to that panel instead or something. But it was all worth it for the lightsaber battle. If it wasn't for that, I would have been really bummed. But I just got a kick out of it. I think Rob, my one friend I met that weekend, Rob from the UK, ended up getting a video of it. So it'll be edited into my celebration vlog, which will be up at some point in the next couple of days. I already have a cosplay video up there. A lot of great cosplay. Oh my gosh, like these Europeans really know how to make costumes, man. There was a full-on Dirge cosplayer.
Love it.
There was a full-on Dirge cosplayer. In my cosplay video, I had, and this is the one I was talking about for you, I found a whole squad of Republic Commandos.
Yep. That was so cool.
That was so cool, because like, when I go to these things, I'm always bringing a video camera with me. And sometimes I feel like I'm George Lucas, because I'm like, I go up to like anybody and I'm like, hey, I'm doing a cosplay video. Would you like to be a part of it? It's going to be on YouTube. And no one ever says no, obviously. Like, you spend hours on these costumes. Of course you want somebody to take
Show 'em
video
off.
of you. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, most of the time I go up to somebody and I don't know what I'm going to have them do. So I ask them if they have any ideas, if anything. Some of them do have ideas. So the Republic Commando guys instantly knew what they were doing. They were like, they got into like a huddle as if they were actually like doing tactics. They're like using their hands like, all right, you go here, you go there, you go there, you go there. And I was just standing back, like kind of like laughing, like this is freaking Star Wars Celebration. Like I'm watching Republic Commandos communicate like they're in war right now. And then they're like, okay, we're ready. And I was like, all right, cool. And I count up in 3, 2, 1, and then they go by and they're like doing their tactical maneuvers, and I'm just like, this is freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, hey, you're just like shooting Star Wars at that point.
Then at one point, I had like a bunch. I was like literally directing like these Mandalorians like going to attack Jedi, and I was like, all right, you're gonna go here, then you're gonna come around here, and then do this thing, and then I'm like, and I literally was like, I'm basically a director right now for a fan film or something.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, Star Wars Celebration fan films. That'll be the new series.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm talking about it now. That's another highlight is how can you not talk about the costuming at Star Wars Celebration? I even went to the Star Wars Celebration costume panel for the first time, like the cosplay competition. They have it every year, and I always miss out on it, but I was there live. They even had I like how this one, it was set up where they had different categories, so it wasn't just like only one person won something. Like they had best kids costume, and there was a kid that had a full-fledged Boba Fett costume, this little girl. It was incredible. She even had like a little like holographic thing that popped up with her chain code with like Jango Fett on there. I was like, oh my gosh. Another kid was like a little Annie from the pod races. I was like, oh my gosh. I was literally that kid's age, and I would have killed to have a costume like that for like Phantom Menace. The helmet and everything.
Oh yeah, I love seeing those type of costumes, whether it be like the kids, the adults, whoever. Like it's cool seeing like how realistic some of these people's costumes are. Because I'm like, dang, like you put so much time and effort, and luckily they survived the trip over there.
Oh, I know. Like some of the people I like, because when they have the people walk out into the runway, so to speak, they have the DJ just basically talking about all the work that went into the costume, all the detail, and like the Padme gowns are always there, and they're always just amazes me how much work. Every little stitch they make, all the stuff is handmade. They don't buy anything. It's like literally they just sew it up from scratch, and they like put like just so much effort. It's like 500 hours or like so much time or more than that. It's just incredible what they do. And then they have some people that have a simpler costume like Han Solo, but then they go for the likeness of the face and the hair, and it's like, oh my gosh, that actually really looks like Harrison Ford. And then at one point, the guy just started doing like on the spot like dialogue, where it's like, Chewie, where are you? And it was pretty funny because he like got so into character, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is like a deleted scene from Star Wars or something.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like I love seeing those type of costumes. I always think to myself, I don't know who I'd want to cosplay as if I would ever do that. I don't know. It'd be a lot of fun trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just think that whole side of Star Wars is so cool, just because like it lets fans like really like get involved in Star Wars, and like you're there with thousands of other Star Wars cosplaying fans, and then even the people who aren't cosplaying are looking at you going, man, those costumes look cool.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. People loved BD1, and I was walking around, and a funny story here with BD1 is I went to this awesome event with Rob, with my girlfriend, with Dominic Jones from the Star Wars Underworld, called Cantina 2. And this was like the marquee after hours event for Star Wars Celebration. It was a separate ticketed event, and it was held in the O2, which is like this really modern looking, it is this really modern building over there, like right across from Canary Wharf. It's a place where they have thousands of people. It's often where Elton John has played and different things. But anyway, we were in a separate room that was part of the O2. And you had this band called Ash playing, and Ash sounds a lot like Weezer for those that are familiar with the band from America here. And what happened was they had a whole backdrop of like a Tatooine scene, which was really cool. Like all these different little props and stuff behind the band. And then they had a big projector, and they were constantly playing like Star Wars moments, like from the movies or the trailers and stuff. And they were playing it in slow motion, but the music was like timed pretty good to it. So it was really fun because here I am just hanging out in my Cal Kestis cosplay, just hanging out with BD1. And at one point, I don't know if you've watched this, Ben, but they had the Tamora Morrison commercial for the Polynesian Polynesian spa, where he's like walking around with his shirt off, and he like gets into the hot tub, and they played that at like half speed with the music. And I have a video clip of it. I'll put it in a vlog, I believe I do. They have a video clip of that moment when he's like, and they played the thing like twice as they're playing their music to this one clip. It was so funny. That's funny. Great. And then at one point, the guy goes, "How many of you like Republic Commando?" And we're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "All right." And then they started showing a Republic Commando gameplay as this rock band was playing, and I had a beer and I was having a good old time. I was just like, this is Star Wars Celebration. I'm like sitting there cheering, watching gameplay from this video game that was 20 years old as this awesome rock band is playing to it, and I'm surrounded by Star Wars fans and costumes. Like, this is the reason why you come to Celebration, for moments like this where you're just like, this is great. This is great.
Oh yeah, you gotta love those type of moments at events like that, just because it's like, you know every single person that came there, they all love Star Wars as much as you. Like, they're all there. Like, you could literally bump into anybody and go, "Hey, what's your Star Wars fandom about?" You know what I mean? Like, you could talk to anyone there. So I think that's really, really cool. Like, just like getting to be there, like you said, getting to like those moments, like whether it be like the bands, the after parties, like those type of things. Like, it's just it's a really cool part of the whole fan experience versus just the panels.
Yeah, and then what happened was the night was getting kind of late, and I might have had one or two drinks more than I should have, and I decided, let's make things a little bit rowdier around here, shall we? So I started to kind of dance a little bit for like a kind of like tried to kind of make a little dancing pit kind of thing. So I started to kind of work my way through the people, and not pushing anybody, but just kind of nudging my way kind of through. Yep. Next thing you know, BD1 falls down and breaks into pieces, and I'm like, no. So yes, I have evidence. This is, luckily it wasn't terrible, but the BD1 has now come apart in two pieces. I mean, that's going to be an easy repair job. I can just, I mean, it's glue. I can just glue it, or I can get some screws and just bolt it in. But it could have been worse. But yeah, it was a sad moment. But the main thing was I was done with him for the weekend anyway, and that was the last time I was bringing him out. So I was like, I'm happy he lasted this long.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. That's great. I mean, it is. It's just cool, like seeing, like, I mean, just thinking about that, like hanging out, listening to music, having drinks, and you're dressed up, you're cosplaying as Star Wars characters with other Star Wars cosplayers and fans. Like, that's pretty awesome.
Okay, so Dark Nerdy Gonzo is saying, if I'm not mistaken, Ash did that song "Clones" for Republic Commando. That band is a personal fave for Ewan McGregor, who has name-checked them in several interviews. That makes much sense, because I remember the clone line, like when they were playing the clones, and I was like, this is awesome.
That is really cool. I like that. Yeah, no, there were so many good moments like that at Celebration.
Yeah, and there were so many like fun moments, like now I'm just devolving this podcast into just stupid moments of me at Celebration at this point. But I guess
okay. Here's a question. I guess I'll be the interviewer on this portion. Okay, so of course, like you, me, Milton, all of our podcast listeners are hardcore Star Wars fans. How was the experience for your girlfriend? Like maybe not being as crazy about Star Wars as we are. Like how did she enjoy it being like, going to Celebration with you?
Oh yeah, she loved it quite a bit. Especially she was in that first panel with me, and she was like, "That was amazing." I was like, "Yeah." She was getting just as excited as I was, or maybe not as much excited because it's hard to be as excited as I am about Star Wars sometimes. But I could hear her literally like when, especially when like Daisy Ridley came on stage, she was like, "Holy crap, that's really her," and I was like, "Yep." Or
Oh
like
yeah,
when. Yeah, or when Diego Luna came on stage, she was like,
yep,
"Oh wow, this is amazing," and
yep.
and then they showed Skeleton Crew.
Oh yeah, we haven't
She's
got to that yet.
yeah, she's a huge Stranger Things fan, and they showed us the trailer that no one else has seen, and it very much is Stranger Things vibes. It's
Oh
got
yeah.
like a freaking Star Wars neighborhood that we've never seen before. Like literally, it's like a block where there's like a little community and there's like little cars like going around the block, and the kids get lost, and the parents are like, "Oh my gosh, where's the kids?" And the pirate from Mando season 3 shows up at some
Gordian
point in there.
Gordian Shard, I think.
No, no,
Was
no.
his name?
The Vane
Oh, Vane. Oh, Vane. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
guy that got away. Yeah,
Yep.
he's shown in there. Oh, and then Jude Law uses the freaking Force at the end of the trailer,
Yep. He's a Jedi.
or some
By the
Force
sound- or
sensitive or
something.
something.
Yeah.
But no, that was a cool segment of the panel because they brought out all the kids, or at least three of the kids. I think the fourth kid unfortunately was sick.
Yep.
But they all had a lot of charisma. But it was really funny because, and this is unfortunately the sign of the new generation and what their connection with Star Wars is. So the interviewer was like, "Oh yeah, so what's your first memory of Star Wars?" And like for all the kids, like their first memory of Star Wars wasn't even their own. It was something about their parents. Like the one kid was like, "Oh, my first memory of Star Wars was when my dad bought me like this Star Wars onesie or something, and I didn't even know what Star Wars was." Or another
Yeah.
one was like, "I remember my first memory of Star Wars was my dad asking my mom to get a Star Wars rug, and she said no."
No.
like their memories weren't like mine or yours, where it's like, "Oh, I remember seeing Jabba the Hutt and he was like really creepy but
Yep.
also cool." Like you could tell like kids nowadays, they don't first go to Star Wars. Like they're probably watching Marvel first, or they're doing something else. It's not like
Yep.
the same.
Fortnite.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Well, the cool thing is about that whole thing. It's cool seeing like the kids being like the leads of the show, and like the fact they were talking about how like they're wanting to get like the old Amblin vibes, and the Amblin vibes. It's basically like the Spielberg era, like the ETs of the world, like those type of like
Yep.
kid-led movies from the 80s. Like it's cool hearing them talk about that. And then the director's list for that show is fantastic.
Oh yeah,
Like
that's right.
it is fantastic. Like there's not Oscar winners on it.
Yep.
There's other Emmy winners, etc. Like the whole list of directors for that show is fantastic. Like I think that show personally, there was a little bit of buzz about it, but there wasn't much. Like I think
No.
that show's going to be very, very slept on going into it, and I think it's going to turn out to be one of the better live action Star Wars shows because of like the directors, like the storytelling alone, I think is good, and I think the show has a lot of potential because look at how like Stranger Things took off. Look at how other shows like hell even like Outer Banks on Netflix, that's like younger kids, like shows with younger kids seem to take off these days. So maybe this show is going to get that momentum and be a big hit like a Stranger Things or like these other shows where it's, I mean, look how good Ellie was in Last of Us. Like people loved her
Yeah.
character. Like, so I think this show has a lot of potential, and it's just like new territory, but it's still in the Mandoverse of shows. So it's going to be really cool to see how they incorporate this show into the greater scope of the Mandoverse.
Oh yeah, I think you are correct. Like I really didn't hear much buzz. Most of the buzz I heard was like Acolyte or
Ahsoka,
Ahsoka.
Ray, or
Yeah.
Daisy, or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so pretty psyched for Skeleton Crew. It's coming out this year too. They confirmed
Yep.
that, I'm pretty sure. So I don't have a date, but you know, if Ahsoka's running in late August, I would expect this.
December probably.
Maybe to get the Book of Boba Fett treatment, where it's like the last possible week of December before the New Year, so they
It'll,
can sneak it in, say
it'll be
2023.
it'll be December 31st at 11:59 and 59 seconds probably.
Oh my gosh, yeah, something like that, something like that. So yeah, that was a lot of fun there. You know, another highlight for me again, with the community, just meeting a lot of people, especially in Star Wars Celebration Europe. You know, we would get, you know, food afterwards. The convention would let out 7, get food afterwards, and we would go and hang out. And oftentimes it'd be almost like the United Nations, because you would have somebody from Canada, somebody from the United States, somebody from Finland, somebody from England. Like, we're all sitting at a table, just like it. I love Celebration because it brings everybody together from around the world. Everybody together from around the world. And there's nothing quite like it, because literally everybody is super jazzed, super hyped to talk about
Yeah.
Star Wars. And we'd be sitting at a pub, and there'd be people that were playing sabacc right next to us.
Yeah.
You know, and then they would come up to us and be like, "Hey, I have some stickers," because that's the thing with Celebration is people like go crazy with the swag. Like, people make their own swag. Like, I got Star Wars like coasters for like, you know, just drinks and stuff. Like, somebody was just
Yep.
passing all their stuff out. Like, at the end of the convention, people were just outside the door like, "Hey, take one. I made a bunch of these. I want to get rid of them." And then they're just getting all this awesome merchandise for nothing, or trading it. Like, I had pins I would be giving at people, and, "Hey, you want this? I'll trade you." And, you know, so it's a really like nice, tight knit community where everybody's just so welcoming, you know?
Oh yeah, I think the big thing as well, like, you know, you have that when you're there in person with all of those fans at Celebration, but it really felt, anyways, like for Celebration weekend, like, of course, you know, now, like, things since we've gone into Mando and all this stuff over the coming weeks, you know, we're back to like normal Star Wars online discourse and debating, but that Celebration weekend, like that Thursday to Monday, like, it was so nice because all of the Star Wars talk online on our end back here, like, it was all positive. It was just
Really?
positive. Yeah, it was like positive talk. Like, you know, there was a little chatter of like, oh, why, you know, why are they doing a Rey movie or whatever? Of course, but like for the most part, like, it was like really positive talk about Star Wars, because I think people, you know, it's just such an exciting time because, you know, they actually came with movies. They came with a variety of shows. They came with a variety of movies. Like we mentioned earlier, there's one 25,000 years. There's one during the Mandoverse, and then there's one after Rise. Like, they came with the good variety. They came with the High Republic stuff. They came with the, you know, everything in between. So it seemed like everybody online, like, just seeing people generally tweeting like, whoa, or like, you know, like getting excited, like seeing random tweets from people that are normally negative. It's cool just seeing like for those few days anyways, people were actually being really positive and stuff about Star Wars, which was such a nice like change of pace compared to, you know, sometimes our normal online chatter isn't the greatest. So it was a nice, refreshing weekend, I could say the least, from like our end back here. And then it was just cool seeing like how excited people were. Like, I was seeing, you know, I have some like Star Wars friends that live out in California, and you know, they were up like covering the event and tweeting about it and stuff. And you know, for them, they were having to be up at 3 a.m. to watch it and like cover it. But it's cool like seeing how excited they are, like, you know, getting up in the middle of the night to to like watch Star
Oh my
Wars news on
gosh.
Twitter, like stuff like that. So like it was really cool just seeing that sort of thing happen. Just because, I don't know, I feel like Star Wars is trending in a nice place. Like, say what you want, like say the way Mando was this year, but I think Star Wars, like, moving forward, is trending in a very good direction, whether it be the shows, the movies. Like, look, we haven't even touched on the animated projects. Like, you have
Oh
Tales
yeah.
of the Jedi season 2 coming
Oh
out, which
yeah.
that's going to be awesome. Like, we love that
Yes.
series. And then we got the final season of Bad Batch. The
Yeah.
final, they
Called
emphasized.
it.
So yeah, I was gonna say, you heard it here first, folks. We called it. So like there's several
Oh,
several really cool projects
oh
coming
yeah.
up.
Let me tell you guys about the trailer because I've seen the trailer
Oh
twice.
yeah.
For Bad Batch. So Bad Batch trailer is effing dark as all hell. It is
Hmm.
so like figuratively, but literally like the color is like a lot of darks, a lot of grays, blacks. And you see Palpatine. Palpatine comes down in his Lambda class shuttle with the Royal Guards,
Oh
the Red
my.
Royal Guards, and he means business. Like he is kicking ass and taking names, basically. And then you just see the clones running around. You see Commander Wolf is in there.
Yep.
So it very much is like, okay, this is what happened. We have to get Omega back. And you see Omega talking with Crosshair in a sequence. And yeah, I mean, this is great that they have a finite landing spot. Same thing with Andor. Like when they were talking about Andor, Tony Gilroy was like, "Yeah, I'm happy that we know exactly where we're going to end up. Like we have this finite amount of episodes for storytelling that we can make it tight and make every second matter." So with Bad Batch, that second season was a lot of character development, a lot of getting inside these characters' heads, and now the keg is prepared to explode for this third season, and things are probably not going to go well. I'm guessing, if it's anything to see from the final episode of season two. Poor old Tech, but yeah, I was happy to learn more about Bad Batch and definitely to get that acknowledgement that it is the final season. They can end it right, not like Resistance where it just was like, "Oh, we're ending it. Sorry."
Yeah. I mean, it was good getting that definitive announcement just because like, how long could they drag the show on? So it was good like 3 seasons I think is a good amount, and it's a good amount for an animated show. It also brings up the question, of course, we're not even to this season of Bad Batch yet. It makes me wonder what they're going to eventually put in its place because Star Wars always has an animated show, kicking a multi like episode 15, 14 episode, 16 episode show kicking. So it makes you wonder what they're going to eventually do in its place. Like maybe are we going to get something like from the High Republic or maybe post episode 9 like something like that or it's going to or heck even what if they go back and do a show taking place 25,000 years ago to like maybe obviously not connect to maybe James Mangold's movie but do something along those timelines. Like I feel like there's plenty of opportunities for them in terms of the animated space. So it's the cool thing is with Bad Batch I feel like is going to probably have a pretty good final season, but it just also already brings up the question like man, I'm interested to see what they put in its place eventually.
Oh yeah, and oh my gosh, how could I not talk about this moment? But I have to talk about it. My panel. I had the panel of bounty hunters,
Oh
smugglers.
yeah.
I almost went this whole hour without talking about my panel: bounty hunters, smugglers, and gangsters of scum and villainy through the years. So this was a lot of fun. So I had Dominic Jones, I had Kieran Duggan, both from Star Wars Underworld. Then I had Mark Brooks from sorry, not Mark Brooks, Matt Booker. See, this is what happens when you're still in German time, everybody. It's like in my head, I'm thinking it's 3 a.m. right now, which is why you've seen me yawn a few times. I'm trying my best. Matt Booker from Fantatrax. We had Adam Christopher, New York Times bestselling author of Shadow of the Sith, and we had Ethan Sachs, writer of the Star Wars Bounty Hunter comics, ongoing right now. And so it was all 6 of us. We were on the fan stage at 6 o'clock on Saturday. And what happened was it's that moment of the moment of truth, right? Because like there's that whole room extra for like the queue for people to go in before they even get into the fan stage. So we had our own room just for people to get in line to get into our room. So we got there like 30 minutes early, and I'm like looking every couple of minutes to see how many people go into the queue stage. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's actually people coming to this panel. I'm like,
That was during the Clone Wars panel.
yes, it was during the Clone Wars panel and during a High Republic costume meetup, which was
Ooh.
really big. And I was like,
That's brutal on your part.
yeah, I was like, oh, this is great. And there was 600 seats in our place, and they were basically almost all full. So we were getting ready, and it was like that awkward moment because like we have people that were from the previous panel that weren't getting up out of the seats to move out of there. Like the previous panel wasn't moving. They were like chit chatting with all their people, and then I was trying to be professional about it. And then even like one of our panelists was like, "Hey, maybe we should slowly like try to move in because we had like 10 minutes to go." And then the other guy that was controlling the room was like, "All right, we're gonna start letting people in. Is that cool?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." So it was a little bit of a rough start because like, and we also had another panelist that was literally doing another panel till 6. So I was like, okay, we're gonna be cutting this close. But then they're like, you're the last panel of the day here, so you can go along as long as you want. It doesn't really matter. There's nobody coming in after you. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So backing up a little bit, before that happened, we were standing outside while that other panel was still going on. And there's a guy in a full Dengar cosplay that came up. And it was just like, we're just, shooting a crap, just talking to this guy, really nice guy. His name's Jack, he's from the UK. And he had mentioned something about how with the armor he's wearing, he can't literally sit down. He can't literally sit down. So it dawned on me. I asked him, I said, hey, look, if you're not like scared of stage fright, I'm going to call you out and you're going to come to the stage when we start the panel and just stand guard next to us the whole time. And I was like, are you cool with that? He's like, yeah, let's do it. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I'll do it. I was like, okay, cool. So I start the panel. And first off, you could tell it was my first panel because I forgot to introduce myself. I realized this 10 minutes in and then I came back and as I talked to the guy, I said, oh, by the way, I'm Chris, creator of the Starrapter YouTube channel. I forgot to say this before. But anyway, yeah, so I was like, all right, so basically I don't want to keep going on and on about this, but no, the panel went really well. Yes, I had the Dengar guy standing there. It's really fun. I called out all the bounty hunter underworld characters and costumes. I said, hey, everybody stand up if you're wearing an underworld costume. And there was quite a few people that were, so that was really neat. And it was a really good flow of conversation. I mean, we talked everything from equipment that bounty hunters use to locations. It was nice being able to talk to official Star Wars authors and like getting into their headspace about like why they pick certain characters in their stories or how they go about making original characters that dwell in the underworld. So it was really quite insightful because I felt like I was able to grab information out. And, we went around the room for a while. Then I had some questions and answers from people in the crowd. So that was really fun. They were coming up with the mic one at a time. You're answering questions. And we played a little game at the end to close things off and kind of bring up the excitement a little bit. Where I just simply said, we're going to go down a line and you're going to tell me an underworld character. And we're going to keep on going until somebody doesn't know and then they get knocked out. So it's like a rapid fire, like you have 3 seconds to give me a character name, otherwise you're out. So that went on for all of a minute and a half. And then I was like, that's the show. We had like literally a minute and a half left before it would have been an hour anyway. So I was like, perfect timing. So yeah, I mean, starting this thing off, I seen the room and I was just like, the room was like really long. And there was a lot of chairs. I have pictures or two on Facebook and Twitter of it. But I actually didn't get nervous. I was surprised for myself. I was like, I didn't stutter. The only thing I had an issue with was like my microphone wasn't sensitive enough. And it was like one of those microphones. It's like, it's not like the one I have. It's like on a stand, like in the desk. So I had to kind of like lean over and like into the mic, like almost had to like eat the mic to like, and it was like uncomfortable because I'm like, I don't want to look like I have bad posture. Like I'm like leaned over, like trying to be loud talking. And it sounds okay, but it's just, I wish the mic was a little bit more sensitive so I didn't have to keep leaning over every time I wanted to talk. But it was a lot of fun moderating. And it was cool because I was, controlling the conversation. So somebody would talk. I didn't want somebody to talk for too long. So then I would switch it to somebody. Hey, what are your thoughts on this? And what are your thoughts on that? And I would, discuss, just normal moderating things. So that was the ins and outs of how you do a panel. I'm going to do another one real soon here. Hopefully New York Comic Con, I could do a Star Wars panel. I'm going to try to apply there and see what happens there. But I was really happy I did it, and it was really fun. And then even after the panel, we were chit-chatting with a couple people that came up, and these people in Mandalorian armor, and it was a really fun time. So yeah, I was happy I did it, and that I didn't like shy away from doing it, because honestly, when I first proposed to do this thing, I didn't even expect to get accepted. So I was like, oh, I have to go through with it now. They said they want me to do it. I guess I got to really do this thing.
Yeah. Hey, that's really awesome. Yeah, it was exciting like that you were getting to do that. It's great you got a pretty good turnout considering, like we said, the Clone Wars panel, High Republic panels were going on. So like that's great that you got a good turnout like that. And it's just a good experience like that because we're doing the podcast here, but it's from the convenience of our houses versus like in front of people. So like that's definitely great that you were able to get that experience, and like of course it'll like pave the way forward for more of like the in-person things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another fun memory here we have, and I expect to do this for 30 minutes, and here we are doubling the time. See, as I start to talk about this, I start to wake up more. Because there's just so much fun. It's so much fun. So I was with Dominic Jones. I'll be honest, there wasn't a lot of Americans at the convention, to be expected. I mean, it's not just a skip and a jump to get over there. It's, it's a commitment and costs money and everything, so I understand. So basically, we didn't have our normal crew of people that I've been hanging out with at Celebrations. So it was more of a tight-knit crew between me and Dominic from Star Wars Underworld, who's been on the podcast, and a couple other people. But we would have, at the end of every convention, or at the end of every day, and you could go on the Star Wars Underworld's podcast feed to listen to all of our little like podcasts. But they are always the best. I always really enjoy those podcasts because we just like Dominic will pull out his smartphone and we'll just like talk into it and he'll record and we'll just talk about what happened that day. And the first day we were planning on doing it for like 20 minutes and literally it took us almost a full hour because there's so much stuff happening. But it was funny because we go outside of the convention center of the XL and we stand like within 50 feet of the exit. And then within 20 minutes of that, some workers getting us to move down the stairs further away from the convention. Then we stop for another 10 minutes and there's people fighting with lightsabers as we're talking about the Acolyte, as we're talking about Mandalorian. And then another 10 minutes later, like you have to move further away. So then we move further away. And then another 10 minutes, we eventually just start walking. And we're continuing to record this entire time as we're walking through the streets of London. And none of us three know where the hell we're going. And we're recording this podcast just walking down this street in London with freaking airplanes low flying because the London City Airport is like literally like right over there. So every once in a while we just kind of have to like stop talking and be like, oh, there goes the airplane again. Okay, now we can talk again. And then we end up like in front of some random business. And at that point it was like 50 something minutes. I'm like, okay, we should probably wrap this up and find food because at this point it's like 8 o'clock at night and the convention's been closed for an hour at this point. And it's just moments like those that are just hilarious. And I love those moments where it's just a small little things of just a bunch of people just randomly walking around recording a podcast in a foreign city. Like, okay, what the heck are we doing right now?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, of course, like everybody around the world, we all got like all the news, but the main important thing from Celebration is like, or New York Comic Con or wherever, is like the fan experiences of like, just like your experience you just described with Dominic, like, going around with other fans, like doing fun Star Wars related things, like making memories like that. Like that's what people like go to those things for. Like, sure, you go to like get your Star Wars news, your big Daisy Ridley appearance, like you get those type of things, but I feel like the actual like in-person experience is better. I mean, look, you guys like did that podcast, like, your girlfriend had a good time there, like everybody's having a good time. Like it's more of like a vacation than just like, oh, hey, let's go get Star Wars news for 3 days.
Yeah, I like to look at Celebration as a conduit or like an entrance way to like make a vacation. Like, okay, I would have never, I wouldn't say I would have never gone to Europe, but it definitely helped when they announced that back in Anaheim. I said, I'm going to Europe. Here we go. I'm packing my bags. I'll see you there in 11 months. And I didn't step back. I said, that's my way out there. And I don't want to say I will be in Japan. Look, it'll be an 80% chance I'll be in Japan. I'll say that much. Because
that 2 years.
That 2 years, a lot can happen in 2 years. living conditions and everything else could change and I might not be able to afford it. But at current time, I'll say currently now, this point of my life, I will say I'll be there, but I can't make promises.
Yeah.
The main thing is the tickets are not that bad right now. It's like, if you look ahead, it's like $1,000 basically round trip to go to Japan. I don't care about that as much. I'm just like, I was on a plane for 7 hours to straight to London from Newark, and it was like, I couldn't sleep. I was crammed. I was like, oh my gosh, get me off this plane. I can't fall asleep.
Yeah.
So I'm like, ooh, what happens if I double that time? How am I going to feel then? That's like the only downside. I don't care about the money as much. It's just transportation to get there.
Oh yeah, plane flight, it's tiring. I mean, when we flew to Hawaii, it was like 9 and it was like it drags, and like you said, almost double that, like 14, 15 hours to Japan. That would be quite the flight. It is cool though that they're going to Japan. Like I think that's a pretty cool destination, considering like the history of Star Wars with like the Japanese and Chinese cultures over there, like for like the samurai and like that sort of stuff, like where Lucas got a lot of inspiration from. I think that's really, really cool that they're like going there, and it opens up a big market for Star Wars, just because, or for Star Wars like in-person stuff versus just like, the UK or the US even, because it's just like, a lot of American people now, like they're going to get all of Southeast Asia, and like, I think they'll get a really, really good turnout there for celebration.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other reason why I would go to Japan, I'll be honest. Like,
Yeah,
but
me either.
for this, I'm like, ooh, this could be a trip of a lifetime again. Like, this
Yeah.
could be the one time I actually go over there. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I want to go. I'm planning on going. I'll start saving. Moment I got out of Europe, I'm like, all right, I'll start saving a little bit. When I'm looking at the action figure aisle in Target, and I have that Boba Fett in my hands, and I'm saying, ooh, do I need another Boba Fett? I might just decide to say, oh, this could be an extra $20-$30 toward my Japan fund, and put them back on the shelf.
Hey, just slowly put back $20-$30 here and there, $10, and before you know it, you'll have plane tickets and you'll be ready to go. And
Yeah,
I'm
no.
sure, hey, I'm sure your girlfriend will be like, hey, let's go, let's travel the world.
She already wants to go. She's mentioned it a couple times in the last couple of days. I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm not getting out of this, am I?
Hey, there you go. That could be your guys' Christmas gift to each other this year. Just be like,
basically.
hey, let's put money back to the trip.
The main thing is it's happening in 2 years. So even if anybody wanted to go, I think it's a lot more doable to do this in 2
next
years
April.
than 11 months. It's
Yeah.
a lot. People plan things ahead a year, but I think 2 years gives people plenty of time to go. And I'll be very curious. I mean, I'll be very curious to see the demographic. I mean, obviously in that area, it's going to be very different for somebody like you or me to be over there. You know what I mean? Like, just the culture of being in that area is going to be super interesting, to be like complete culture shock.
Oh yeah, I mean, for us from the US, or even some of our other friends, like I know like Hannah from the Ray side, like she's talked about she might be going to it, but she said it, it's just like such a big difference, because it's like a total culture change for like all of us, basically. All of us more like American based people.
Yeah, I mean, even going to Europe, it was kind of like the Twilight Zone for me, because, everything was a little bit different. Obviously, people talk different over there. And then things are a little slower over there. I mean, for me specifically in the Northeast, near New York and all, everything's always fast moving and all. And people over there are just like a lot more easygoing, a lot more just laid back, which is nice. You got different signs for things, like exit signs are way out instead of exit signs. They're in green. The bathrooms, the toilets are smaller, like little like things, like people driving on the other side of the road. If you're in the UK, like seeing castles in the middle of modern architecture that are 500-600 years old, all those little things that are like, okay, this is different, very different. So I could see Japan being the same, if not even more so.
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I think that'll be an interesting part of it. Like for me, anyways, like if I would go to it, of course you want to go for Star Wars Celebration, but like if I'm going to go there, I want to go see some of the actual like historical stuff there. Like that sort of stuff. Just because like who knows when you would ever go back.
Mm-hmm.
Like could because me personally, like that would not be like my number one place for like my travel destinations of where I'd want to go to in a lifetime versus like I don't know somewhere like Egypt or or somewhere like that, um so like it's cool that they're putting it there just because it'll not make but it'll make people like go there versus just like hey
Yeah.
let's go to Anaheim or
Yeah.
Chicago or wherever.
I
So
I just feel for the people. I don't know if you might be included in this band. I feel for the people that looked at London and were like, "Oh, I'm so close to going," and they said, "You know what? I'll wait till next year when or when we found out in 2025, everybody I think was pretty set on, but oh, it's definitely
I
going to be
was
in America then." And
I
people are
was
like, "Oh,
I
yeah, like I don't care about London because in 2 years I'll be in America." And now the people are saying, "Oh gosh, it's even further away than the
I
UK. Now I'm not going to Celebration for another 8 years, or whoever knows when it's going to come back."
yeah,
That's my
I
only
thought it
thing.
was I was like fully, I don't know why. I mean, I didn't hear anybody talking about it, but I just had a feeling like I thought it was going to come to the East Coast,
Yeah.
potentially. And then when they said Japan, I'm like, my reaction was like, whoa, I did not see that coming. So, so yeah, that was a big surprise to say the least.
I,
And
I, I
they should
yeah.
go on.
No, I was just thinking like the continents. Now they have to have it in South America. They've never had it there before. Have it in
Well,
Brazil.
Brazil have it in. Hey, let's go all out. They need to go and have an Antarctica Hoth theme.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
Um,
gosh.
But no, Brazil would be a really cool spot because there's always that really huge Brazil Comic
That's
Con
what I
that
was
goes
thinking
on every.
exactly why, yeah.
That would be an excellent spot actually. And then there's plenty of really cool tourist destinations there on top of Celebration.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, we want to hear from you guys listening and watching. Do you plan on going to Celebration in Japan? Where else would you like to see Celebration in your hometown, where you're from? Let us know in the comment section down below. Well, I think I've said as much as I want to say for now. And like I said, we can have enough conversation for each one of those major announcements. Oh, I said this the first time we recorded, and that never went through with your audio because of me not realizing it. The Andor stuff. I like seeing the Andor representation at this convention. The fact that these guys didn't really get a whole lot to say in the lead up to their show. So for them to get the respect and the praise now that we've all seen and most of us have loved, or I wouldn't say most, but like a lot of us have loved that season, at least in the building there at Celebration, you could feel the passion for Andor. It was infectious, and so infectious so that there was a legion of Norcana 5 cosplayers. So at the actual panel that opened up Celebration, Andy Serkis got on stage, and all of a sudden these guys were all in one area, and they said, "No way out, one way out." What? And they just started to chant, and then the whole audience, everybody, all 4,000 of us, just started saying this. And like Andy Serkis was like so amazed, and he even started joining in. And then later that day, I was walking the convention floor, and it was very packed. Next thing you know, I see about 100 of those people running around the convention. And usually we see the running of the Wilro Hoods. Well, that got put to shame with the running of the Norcana 5 prisoners because even some of those people were so dedicated, they even have shoes on, all right? And this is like 20,000 people in this place, and I can't imagine how dirty their feet were by the end of the day.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like seeing like how passionate those people are about Andor, and then of course like doing the whole one way out thing. Like that was really cool. Like even for me not being like a huge fan of that show, like I thought that was really cool. And like from that show in general, like the panel for someone like me or maybe other people even who weren't huge fans of it, I think they put on and gave us enough info about the next season to make like me be excited for it actually. Like I'm actually excited for the next season because I like the 3 episode arc and then time jump aspect to the show. Like I think that's a really good format for them. And then the fact that, now that Cassian's with the Rebels, or well, the upcoming Rebels and everything, like I think that's a great part of it. And of course, Andy Serkis like being back. Like, who doesn't love Andy Serkis? Like, no matter what he's in, he always does a fantastic job. So I'm excited to see where his character is going to head in the next season. And then of course, like all of our other main characters like Mon Mothma and Luthen and whoever else it may be, Denise Go's character, like all of them. I'm really excited.
Oh yeah. So, any last thoughts on Celebration there, Ben?
I would say overall, like Celebration for me, I think was a big success this year. Even just being like from a at home viewer's perspective, even though it wasn't streamed, which I thought was kind of like eye rolling a little bit, because it would have been amazing to see like the Daisy Ridley thing like live. But even setting that aside, I think Celebration was a big success because there have been years in the past where we've had celebrations and we finish it and we're like the one year I remember specifically that stands out the most to me by far is the year they gave us the Rebels trailer with Thrawn appearing in the trailer. Okay, that was a hype moment for Celebration, but an animated show shouldn't blow out of the water all of your other live action stuff that's there. Like, that was the biggest thing coming out of Celebration that year, was the Thrawn trailer. So like the fact that they gave us a lot of stuff to be hyped about, whether it be like the animated, the live action stuff, like all the shows, the trailers, we mentioned like for me, like the Ahsoka trailer, and the fact that they're like committing to movies and everything, like I'm really excited for that aspect. So I think overall for me, Star Wars Celebration was a really big success, and it actually got me excited. Like, it did its job. Like, we talk about trailers, like John Campea says, like, does a trailer get you excited for like the movie? Like, does it raise your hype level? And for me, like, Star Wars Celebration did that in this aspect. Like, it made me more excited for Star Wars versus just being like, oh man, we're just getting like thrown out in the woods with no news, basically. Like, we actually have a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, heck, there's going to be stories, we've been talking about, off air anyways. Like, we have plenty of stories to talk about coming out of Celebration that can last us for probably another month or 2 months, like if we break them down. So, there's plenty of things to talk about. So for me, Celebration overall was a really big success.
Yeah, for me, two different things here. I would say it's probably the strongest Celebration as far as announcements are concerned that I've noticed. I mean, what Celebration have we ever gotten? 3 movie announcements and so many freaking trailers for different things, including animation. To even talk about the whole little segment they had on the live stream that was like the unannounced Jedi Survivor panel, basically, that was happening. That was on a live stage, and I was right there with it because I heard somebody say you got to be at the stage if you're a Jedi Survivor fan at Sunday at 12 o'clock, and I was waiting there at 11:45 ready for them to happen, and there he did. He showed up. Good old Cameron Monaghan as Cal Kestis talking about how many times ponchos. It was crazy. You can watch that on YouTube. That was great. And then they showed the final trailer, which, yeah, I started playing Jedi Fallen Order again today. And I'm like, oh, man, this game is so good. I'm getting warmed up. But so from the perspective of announcements, I loved it. From the perspective of the people, I thought it was so cool being surrounded by Europeans and then just different people that haven't had a chance to go to Celebration. For the overall vibe compared to, let's say, the other two, I went to Chicago and Anaheim. I'll be honest, now that I'm thinking about it more, I like the layouts more for those places than the one in XL London. So in Chicago, everything was like, there was like more things happening outside of the convention nearby. So even after the convention, I still felt like I was wandering the halls of the connected hotels, and there'd be like little parties popping up in hotel lobbies and stuff, like all Celebration people. But I didn't get that kind of spill out kind of experience with the community here at Excel. Like once that ended the convention, like everybody just booked it out of there, and there was like nothing nearby that I know of that was like a congregation point for people. And then with Anaheim, it was like you had Disneyland, so there was like that big Disneyland event. They had more after hour events there. They had like the emo like punk night thing over there at one of the venues, which was so much fun. And then in Anaheim, like even the layout of that convention was the best out of everything because it was in Anaheim and it was in summer. It was nice and sunny, like 75 degrees, no rain at all. So like people would go outside because like it was so nice. Like you'd have cosplayers just chilling all around outside. There was like other buildings that you would have to like literally go outside to travel to. So I like that convention a lot. That layout was just like when you're in California, it's beautiful out there. Whereas London, it was raining half the time. So even if you could go outside, you wouldn't want to because it was only like 50 something degrees, which isn't terrible. I mean, I just wore a sweatshirt every day or like my leather jacket or something. But other than that, it was like, yeah, I wish the layout could have been better. Even if you're looking at the convention center itself, the XL Center, it's like one straight long path that's like a mile long. I don't even think I'm exaggerating. It's probably as close to a mile. Like, and that's where like there's food stands on either side, and you get funneled into this like rather narrow like concourse, and then there's like stuff open on the outside, which is where the stages are. Like they open up like the outside areas, outside not like meaning like outdoors, but like outside of the main concourse. They open up these big, large rooms, and that's where your stages are and all. So for me, it seemed like it was a little bit of a cluster, especially with all those people. I was like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't really find places to just chill outside of the way because there's people everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's understandable. I mean that's the thing, going to like a big event like that. Even though of course you're like hyped about everything, there are times I'm sure you were like, man, I just want to like stand to the side and just kind of chill for like 20 minutes or something.
yeah, exactly. So, but overall, I had a lot of fun, made a lot of cool memories that I'll never forget. And again, hopefully I'll see some of you guys out there one of these days. One of these days, hopefully 2 years time in Japan. Let's make it happen. Start saving the money. Start putting the money in a jar, as we like to say here in America. A little bit at a time goes a long way.
There we go. I mean, hey, if you think about it, it's if you try to put back $50 a month, you'll probably be like chipping away at the plane tickets and stuff. Like it'll be good.
There you go.
Just
There you go.
save.
Yeah, so next week is a big week. We got Star Wars Timelines, which is a book I've been looking forward to, which is literally the entire chronology in timeline order of the Star Wars universe. So I'm really looking forward to that. We also have Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which will probably be if it's anything like Fallen Order, it's going to be my favorite Star Wars thing of 2023 because 2019 is when the first game came out. That came out like a week after Mandalorian, and it came like a week before or something of the Rise of Skywalker. And I still enjoyed it the most out of all those things. Like I just love that game so much. So yeah, I'm literally 1 week away from probably my game of the year, probably my Star Wars thing of the year. So I cannot wait for that. I'm going to be playing it on PC. I'm going to be ready to go next Friday. If I didn't use up all my PTO on my trip to Europe, I probably would have taken a day off for Friday to play that game, if I'm being honest. But I'll just have to grin and bear with it and get through work and play when I can and probably go on social media blackout because I really don't want anybody to spoil this thing. And we all know here in the Star Wars community that you can't trust your friends to not spoil crap. And I admit I'm one of those people sometimes. I don't mean to do it that much, but sometimes I might let something slip. So I gotta be careful. And I will be careful by simply not going on Twitter, staying away from Facebook, and being very careful when I go on YouTube to upload videos. I don't see a thumbnail that I don't want to see because that happened last time, dude. I got so mad. It was like 2 days before the game came out for Fallen Order. And I got a recommended video that came up that said something about double-bladed lightsabers in the game. And I was like, no, that was such a cool moment in the game when there was no promotion for it that you would get a double-bladed lightsaber. And yet somebody played the game early and was like, oh, there's double-bladed lightsabers. I'm like, you son of a gun, man. So I learned real quick to turn off the recommended videos after I seen that in YouTube settings. I'm like, not falling for that again because I got a notification on the phone. I'm like, no, screw that.
Yep. Oh yeah, you got to be really careful with social media these days, whether it be YouTube especially, because people just put thumbnails on and then you're like, oh no, or titles or Twitter, for example. It'll be people you're not even following. It'll just pop up like random tweets of people, what they're saying about the game and stuff. So you got to be like really careful and vigilant because If not, you never know where you're going to get spoiled at these days. Like, you could literally get a spoiler for Star Wars, like, anywhere.
Oh, yeah. Well, so that is going to do it for us here. Ben, where can the people follow it, and what are you going to be talking about this week?
Yeah, I mean, this weekend I'm just going to be, like, meal prepping and, like, just going to actually be watching Star Wars Rebels with one of my friends because he's only seen, like, the live action stuff, basically, and he was like, hey, what's the significance of that show to Ahsoka? And I'm like, oh, well,
Oh,
Ahsoka is basically Rebels season 5, so
yeah.
it'll be really good for you to watch it. So we're gonna start chipping away at that series over the coming months, just to lead up to Ahsoka in August. So we're starting that tomorrow, and then just the typical working out and that sort of stuff that's pretty much all I'll be talking about in the meantime. And then if we get any Star Wars news, of course I'll be like reacting to it live on Twitter as it breaks or anything. So you can find me talking Star Wars news and all of this other stuff at Real Ben Maynard on Twitter. And if you want to find Milton, where Milton basically on his Twitter account, like he just tweets like funny sports memes or other Star Wars stuff like us. You can find him at Milton Weber 7. And then if you want to follow Milton on Instagram, he always is posting like his meal prep, his like workouts, and just all kinds of like fitness and health lifestyle related things on his Instagram. And his Instagram handle is Milton, the number 7, and then Weber.
And there you go. And of course, you can follow us here every Friday at 9 o'clock Eastern. We go live talking about our favorite Star Wars things of all time. Our favorite Star Wars, our favorite science fantasy. That's what I was trying to say. Science fantasy, everybody. Yeah, I know. I'm still adjusting. Here. But yeah, go ahead. Subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/Starrapter. And on Twitter, I'm probably talking about how I just beat The Last of Us. Amazing game. Held up so well. Or I should say the series held up so well with that game. Like they went hand in hand. And you'll be seeing me talk about Jedi Survivor probably constantly while avoiding spoilers and being very vague and giving my first impressions there. So yeah, you'll hear maybe my first impressions next week if I get a chance to play. I hope it's not that crap where it's like, oh, I can't play the game till 1 p.m. Eastern time because I'll be at work. But if they put it up 12 a.m. local time, well, guess who's not getting much sleep that night before work? This guy. So let's hope for the latter. I will sacrifice sleep to play that game if I need to. But for Milton, who couldn't be here tonight, for Ben, for Chris, aka Starrapter, that's going to do it for outerrimtransmission number 103. Thanks for watching. May the Force be with you in transmission.